So, Oana, what led you to get so involved with ESG in the first place?
Actually, my journey started 10 years ago because I was passionate about green certifications. I was working in a real estate company. I was working with buildings in the technical division, and just wanted to see how we can embrace also sustainability in our business. And we have this occasion with one client which requested lead certification. So I said, look, this is my my time now. And I started with lead green associate exam and started with this client working. And later on, year after year, I just passed exams and became proficient with lead, with BREEAM, and with WELL. It was a natural journey due to the request of our clients and my interest in this sustainability part related to real estate. Together with my team, actually, we managed to have some premieres in our market, in our Romanian market, and that also encouraged me to continue the journey. And right now, when this ESG approach appeared in our company, for me it was something natural to take part of it and to see how can I enhance my previous experience and take it forward.
So, how long did it actually take you to get the qualifications in terms of the amount of study that you had to do? And do you have to do sort of continuing education in order to maintain those qualifications?
Okay, my answer, I think it's very subjective because in the same time I was working on leads and BREEAM projects, and I had the actual experience from the field. In my case, with lead green associate exam, for example, it was a 2 months journey with trainings and exam after that. And I think it was similar with lead AP, with BREEAM International Assessor, BREEAM News Assessor, LP. So a period of more or less 2-3 months. But in the same time, having the practice of working on projects, it was easily to take the exams. In the same time, yes, for this kind of accreditations, you need to show that you maintained your credential by participating in projects, by volunteering, by having education activities. So every 1 year or 2 years, depending on the standard, you need to prove something and to pay some fees. And I think it's similar with some other accreditations on the market, not only on the sustainability side.
Is it more challenging in Romania to convince companies that they should be adopting ESG regulations and guidelines for running their countries? And in general, what are the differences between countries that you see in their approaches to ESG?
Actually, I think ESG it's more or less on the same level in the Central Eastern Europe. We can look at the green certifications as a predictor of the preparedness of the market to implement the ESG. And if we look at that, we'll see for sure that Poland is the most advanced country. And after that, we have the Czech Republic, we have Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, and after that, Bulgaria. If we look at the countries where Colliers has presence. And this was a level of penetration of green certifications. Actually, in Romania, we have a 10 years history of green certifications, and it was that tool of the developers to show that they are doing something different and they are competitive on the market. So it was not so difficult to implement these green certifications. And I was talking with my colleagues from other regions in Colliers. They were surprised about the level of preparedness of our market in terms of green certifications. Green certifications are a great tool, a baseline for ESG strategies. They are not enough, for sure, but they are a good framework. So if we are starting with that in this way, I think we should be okay if we are doing the right things for the ESG journey.
So for you, what are the biggest misconceptions about ESG that you find when you're doing this type of consulting?
First, I think it's one with, if you are doing ESG, you are not doing green certifications anymore. We are doing ESG, it's enough. I think this is the first one, which is usually told. I hear very often this, the ESG is a certificate, ESG certificate. There is not such thing, so it's just a ESG criteria implemented, the ESG strategy, ESG metrics. It's not ESG certificate like in LEED or BREEAM. That ESG means just the carbon emissions, the energy performance. There are less discussions on the S part, on the governance. I think something also often heard by me. And that maybe ESG is intangible for the older buildings. If we have an historical building or a building delivered 20, 30 years ago, it's impossible to do something in terms of ESG. It's not impossible. We can do something there. Or maybe that ESG is dedicated just for the office buildings and retail. The warehouses, no, they're not so good in terms of ESG, but also it's a misconception. I think these are my ideas.
What are the most progressive developers doing these days to improve the environmental sustainability of their projects?
I think we'll see more and more progressive developers, because also the EU regulations will help them become that way. We have the NZEB, the nearly zero energy efficient buildings regulations that will enter into force in the Central Eastern Europe countries, and that will put some pressure on the energy performance, on the percentage of the renewable energy, or on the carbon emissions reductions. So this is something new, and every building that will be built from now on will need to report in that direction. But if I look at my previous experience with projects that I worked with, it's starting with very maybe boring stuff, from the high efficient equipments, a very good envelope, which it's something, it's not so good from the marketing point of view, but we don't have something spectacular to say, but it's very important to have a very tight envelope, a very good insulation of the building, because there you can lose a lot of heat. To have efficient equipments which are correctly sized for your building, and that, for example, to have heat pumps instead of the classical central heating station which works with gas, in order to remove gas from the equation. To have photovoltaic roofs, or to have white roofs to reflect the sun and to avoid the heat island effect. To harvest the rainwater and use it internally for flushing the toilets or the urinals. To have the grey water system, also collecting the water from that is used and treat and re-enter in the project. To use materials with an embodied carbon emissions less than the conventional ones, that helps you in the journey for the net zero carbon. So it's very important to look at what kind of materials are you putting in during the construction. Also in terms of environmental, it was changing the mindset, or at least in Romania, to have actually construction practices which are made with care for the environment. It was here, I think it was the greatest struggle for me to convince the site guys, the constructor, that they need to do some things, to have some procedures and to act differently than in the past. And if we are going to the transportation, to look at electrical car charging stations, to look at showers, facilities for bicycle, and so on. So these are just some items on the list, but altogether they are providing great buildings. And I forgot about the geothermal systems. We have that in Bucharest. Actually, we have a good geothermal energy in the underground, and there are a lot of buildings which are with that kind of systems in place, which is more progressive and good from marketing point of view.
That's fantastic. How important for institutional investors is a building's ESG scores? And do you have a feeling that some sectors are it's a more sensitive subject in certain sectors, like office or for industrial?
Actually, we investigated the feelings of the investors. In our latest Global Investor Outlook, we made a survey among a large number of investors around the world, and we've seen that nearly 70% of the investors, and I think the majority of this large percent was in this region, EMEA. So they are interested in having environmental factors taken into account when they are doing the due diligence and purchasing a property. So for them, for sure, it's important looking on the ESG part. Also, a large number of investors are looking now at ESG due diligence. So before starting the commercial due diligence, the technical due diligence, they want to make sure that the building is well prepared in terms of environmental policies, carbon reduction plans, and so on. And they want to know if that building that they will acquire will be prepared in terms of EU taxonomy. They want to have a clean portfolio on the long run. So actually it's important. And if we look at what sectors are more relevant, I think I see the same level of interest in each sector, because each of them can reach ESG criteria very easily, office, warehouses, or retail.
Okay. finally, how do you deal with ESG skeptics? Because the reality is they're out there.
Yes, and I meet them.
I'm sure.
I deal with patients. I try to understand from where their misunderstanding comes, or where skepticism is coming, because they might think that it's not something mandatory, it's something optional. And I try to explain that, look, the EU regulations are coming. You need to report in accordance to EU taxonomy. This is not something voluntary anymore. It will not be something voluntary. You need to be there. So if the skepticism is related to the fact that it's mandatory or not, I can come with arguments from the regulations point of view. But in the same time, we have this reality of wanting to have the tenants back in the office. This is something which is here. So how we can do the office to be more friendly, more healthy, more welcoming for the employees. We need to look on the social part. And in the context with the war in Ukraine, also the governance part, it has seen its importance. So it's not a matter of not being there, ESG just being an acronym and that's it. No, it's the reality which is around us, and we need to see how we can approach it and how we can meet the request.
Because it's not just a checklist, it's an entire process of running a company and living within a building.
If you look briefly, yes, it's a checklist, but for each item on that checklist, actually you need to do something more. It's an entire process. For example, one checklist is the green certification, but the green certification might take up to 2 years, and it's an entire process there. Another checklist is to report the ESG metrics. For that, you need to have a platform to collect information, to work with your suppliers, to select suppliers in accordance with that. Or another checklist is to have a good corporate governance. You need to make some changes, to have a sustainability committee, to have some board level of directors which are checking the sustainability. So, okay, we can have the checklist, but you need to know that behind each line we have very comprehensive strategies in order to reach them, to tick the boxes.
It's very well said. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.